Hi, everyone. I'm back. I know it's been a little while since I made a video, and there's reasons for that. I took an overseas trip for a couple weeks, and then I came back, and then I was dealing with some health issues where I was basically unable to get out of bed for a couple weeks, and then on crutches for 2-3 more weeks. I'm doing really well now, feeling better than I have in years. But that's the reason for my absence. Since I've missed all that time, about 6 weeks now, I'm really going to start hitting this hard and making as much content as I can and trying to provide as much helpful information as I possibly can on this channel and through social media and other things that I do, including email and my blog post on my website. So let's start by discussing first how the format of these videos is going to change. So I have generally approached this with scripted content. I've usually got that script up on the screen and I'm reading through it, trying to be careful to hit every point. But I have decided over the last several weeks that what I really need to do is I may have some notes to follow to keep me focused, but speak off the cuff about the topics that I claim to have some expertise in and that I'm really passionate about. So from here on out, the videos will be simply off the top of my head, following those notes, and I will just start relaying the information that I know. I hope that gives this some more authenticity and is helpful to you. If it is, please leave a note in the comments below, follow, subscribe, all that stuff. All right, so the first thing I want to talk about, but let me back up just a little bit. So these videos are going to be unedited. So if I make a mistake, if I stumble over my words, you'll know that, right? Now I may pause the video to gather my thoughts and then restart it to give the message that I want to give to you here, but I'm not going to cut pieces out. I'm not going to do any editing except for possibly giving that introductory screen before we launch into the video. All right, so what I want to talk to you today is about an issue that I have been passionate for many, many years, seems like all my life. And that is the idea that most people that find themselves in leadership have not been prepared for leadership, have not been taught anything about leadership or trained to be leaders. They just find themselves in what's known as an accidental leadership, where they find themselves in a leadership position. And this happens primarily because of the way we promote people in our organizations. And it's good to promote people and reward people for good work and hard work and for their expertise and their competence. And what happens is a person does really well in a position, and so we promote them to the next level of position. And that continues through a cycle until eventually they find themselves in a position where they're now leading the people who did the job that they know so well and did so well. But the problem is that being able to do a job extremely well does not automatically or necessarily translate into leading people who do that job. You may be able to tell them what to do and how to do it and provide the expertise for that, and that makes you a good manager, but it doesn't make you a leader. See, leadership is a whole different set of skills. And this has become a crisis in the United States, at least in my opinion, and the opinion of many other people, because around 60% or more of all leaders, and this includes leaders in senior level positions, the C-suite, executives, CEOs, VP, senior VP level, over 60% say they've received no training on leadership. And most people have had to learn leadership in the trenches, finding what works, what doesn't work, the hard way. The problem with that is we've ended up with a lot of leaders that either don't have a lot of confidence in their leadership or they think they're really good leaders when they're not, and their high turnover numbers, for example, can testify to that, or the toxic work environment of their organizations can testify to it. And we have people, unfortunately, that have learned very bad leadership ideas or leadership techniques. So they're not really good leaders, even though they get things done. But again, in those situations, you may find that there's high turnover in the teams and the organizations that leader leads, and there might be excuses as to why. I remember one time there was an organization that had very high turnover, and I was able to come in, develop onboarding, develop continuing development, and develop a culture that was very supportive of new employees. And that department, it was a department, went from about 55% turnover to 3% turnover in 18 months because of the systems that I developed. Now, I also wanted to do some leadership development in there, because the truth is, if leaders don't embrace the change and the culture, it's not going to stick after you walk away. And what happened is, when I walked away, because I wasn't allowed to train the leaders, the turnover skyrocketed to almost 75%. And this was a large department with over 100 people. So that's a lot of people to lose in a single year. I went back once and I asked one of the managers, I said, why do you think that people are leaving? And their response was, because they're lazy and they don't want to work. I'm like, okay, that might be true for a few people, but for 75 people out of a department of 100, there's no way that that's the case, unless everybody was a bad hire, which I don't believe it was, because I had talked to some of these people. I knew them. They really wanted to succeed. They really wanted to thrive. They wanted to work, but the environment that they were given in this department was just not conducive to their success. And so they left to go somewhere that was better for them. Excuse me. So this really speaks to the lack of development of our leaders. And so I've really taken it upon myself, as someone who's gone. So I have a PhD in organizational psychology, which is the applying psychology to the workplace. And my area of research and expertise is leadership and leadership development. And I've really taken it upon myself to fix this. And I can't do it alone. I need people that are going to help, people that are going to associate with this, so that we can start to develop an organizational system across the country and across the world, where leaders are equipped to lead, to face the challenges that they face, and do what we've asked them to do with confidence, with ability, with expertise. And that's going to happen one leader at a time. Now I'm going to pause this here for a moment while I gather my thoughts. Okay, let's continue. So my focus, which has come from the research I've done and the probably 50, 60 or more leaders that I've talked to over the past several years, is that we need to democratize leadership development. Now, what do I mean by that? So in many organizations, when they do have leadership development programs, and a lot don't, but when they do, the focus is on what is often called to your high potential individuals. That means those people that have already shown some leadership ability or some ability to take charge, those that the organization believes are most likely to have leadership ability and be able to be cultivated into becoming better leaders. What that does is it automatically assumes that all the rest of the people are not leadership material, or at least at this point are not leadership material. And so organizations choose not to invest in them in terms of leadership. That's a mistake. Because what ends up happening is when a leadership position opens up, and if you don't have someone available because you've only cultivated leadership in a select group of a few individuals, then there's no one in your organization who knows the organization, who knows the culture, who knows the systems, who can step up and assume that leadership position. And so what you do is you begin looking outside of the organization. This is a big mistake, in my view. Instead, democratization of leadership means, or leadership development means, that what you do is you invest in every single individual, from your newest hire, from your most fresh person who maybe doesn't even have job experience yet, but they're going to get it because you hired them, to the most senior level executive. You're going to invest leadership development in every single one. Now, obviously, what you invest in a C-suite executive is going to be different than someone who maybe just graduated college and is just starting their career path, or maybe didn't go to college, maybe it's straight from high school to being hired by your organization. What you invest in them is going to be much more basic and rudimentary than what you're going to invest in people that have been in a leadership position for quite some time. But developing a system where every individual is invested in terms of leadership and leadership development means that you are constantly cultivating people who can step into the needed leadership positions as they open up in your company. And the learning curve that comes with a brand new employee, regardless of their experience as a leader, is far less when you are able to cultivate leadership in everyone in your organization and then promote them up trained, ready, equipped, competent when those positions open up. So that's the video for today. And I would like you to think about it, comment below, agree, disagree. Do you think we need to flesh this out further, which I'm fully open to? What are your thoughts on this idea of the democratization of leadership development? Until next week, have a great week. I wish you all the best. Here's to your best leadership adventure.